We begin with that latest floor crossing. Ontario MP Michael Maw has left the Conservatives to join the Liberals, leaving the Carney government one seat shy of a majority. For some Conservative reaction to this move, we're joined now by Ontario Conservative MP Adam Chambers. Adam Chambers, good to see you again. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thanks for having me, David.
I know you all had your Christmas party last night, 2 nights ago, and Michael Maw was there. Did you have any indication at all that he was defecting to the Liberals? When did you find out?
Well, I think I found out, like most other Canadians, when the statement was put out by the Prime Minister. But you certainly would have known that by Mr. Maw and his attendance at the Christmas party, dancing up a storm until the wee hours of the night. I'm not even sure he paid for his ticket, so we'll have to probably try to get that back from him at some point in the future. But no, there was no indication that Mr. Maw had been discussing his moves with the Liberal Party over the last number of weeks.
The sense I've had from speaking to people who work in Mr. Poilievre's office and people in your caucus is that you all thought you were in the clear. You know, that Chris D'Entremont and Matt Genereux was kind of it, and things had stabilized, and now Michael Maw. Where do you think sit now? Where do you think things sit now with your caucus?
I think any time that, someone has concerns or crosses the floor, of course, which is the most, drastic move that a member can take, it does cause for some self-reflection. I do think, look, we have in our party, we've adopted the Reform Act. We also have a leadership review happening in January. I think any members have been free to organize their own delegates, to talk to their other colleagues about any of their concerns that they have with the direction of the party. I think, we have mechanisms to do that. I had not seen any indication from Mr. Maw that he was uncomfortable or not pleased with the way things were going. Although, having just been in Parliament with him for a few short weeks, we were only back for a few weeks in the spring and then a few weeks since the fall. I did not detect that there was any issue there, but of course, I think it's always important for us to be talking to each other, to bringing issues together. I think we all collaborate relatively well. We all have concerns. We bring them up. As I've said before, no one is discouraged from doing so, and I think we often end up collaborating very well as a caucus when people do bring concerns forward.
But this is now 3 MPs, right, since the election. Matt Genereux has said he's going to resign, though he hasn't yet, but he has not voted, not shown up in Parliament since. Chris D'Entremont's crossed to the Liberals. Michael Maw's crossed to the Liberals. I mean, what does this say about Mr. Poilievre's leadership after losing an election this year, losing his seat, and now losing these MPs?
Well, I would separate out Mr. Genereux from others. Mr. Genereux did not cross the floor. He's indicated that he is not going to seek re-election and that he would be stepping down. So I'm not sure that's, I would put them all in the same bucket. And frankly, I haven't had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Maw. I think Mr. D'Entremont, there was some concern that he had expressed to leadership that he was not pleased with. And I think that had been a known issue. And frankly, Mr. D'Entremont did have the honor to disappear, at least for a few weeks, while he was, of course, making his decision. But Mr. Maw, showing up the night before his defection, as I say, dancing up a storm until the wee hours of the night, and befriending all of his Conservatives colleagues that he was looking in the eye, wishing a Merry Christmas, and then the next day, joining another party. It's not really a great look as far as I'm concerned. I think it speaks a little bit more to his character. But of course, as I said about Chris D'Entremont, I hope Mr. Maw finds what he's looking for. I think he'll have some buyer's remorse. He ran on a tough on crime agenda, affordability agenda, and I'm not sure that those things are being addressed by the Liberal government currently.
Okay, but what does this say, though, about Mr. Poilievre's leadership? I'll grant you Mr. Genereux maybe doesn't fit into the category, so let's separate that out. It's still 2 MPs that have left, and Michael Maw says he wants, his constituents want solutions, not division. A similar sentiment to Mr. D'Entremont, though I know there have been allegations made that it was sour grapes over the Deputy Speaker's job in his case. But here you have Mr. Poilievre, after losing the election this year, losing Carleton, going into this leadership review in Calgary at the end of January, and he's getting further and further away from his goal to be Prime Minister. I mean, is he there for the long term, do you think?
Well, there is the leadership review that happens at the end of January. I mean, there's delegate selection meetings going on across the country currently where delegates are coming and putting their hand forward saying they would like to go to Calgary in order to vote on the future of Mr. Pierre Poilievre. My understanding is that those delegate selection meetings are going very well for the leader. I happen to understand that many people still support Pierre Poilievre. He has a strong support within the caucus. Anyone who has a different feeling is free to not only express their view as a member of parliament, but they're free to organize against him, whether that's a reform act. As I said, we did adopt that, but I think we are a very open party that accepts a wide variety of views. But my impression, speaking to many colleagues, both in my own province, but across the country, and as well as former candidates, that many of us still believe that Pierre Poilievre is putting the ideas forward that is driving the national agenda, whether it's on affordability or on crime. So I expect that he has still very strong support within caucus and outside of it.
Yeah, I don't get the sense you're wrong on any of that he will very likely win this leadership review, probably with a decent number. But if you look at the broader polling number from groups like the Angus Reid Institute, there's a decline in his appeal to people who aren't part of the dyed-in-the-wool core conservative base. And that is where the challenge lies, right? Because Pierre Poilievre's not in this to be the longest-serving opposition conservative leader. He wants to be prime minister. And just your thoughts on the viability of that after the way 2025 is ending versus how it started.
Well, most of the polling that I've seen, David, as I'm sure you have, has the parties still in neck and neck. I think that's important. I think what matters to conservatives or conservative voters across the country is that the party continues to talk about the things that matter to people. One of the things that vaulted Pierre into the public or into the national spotlight was he was one of the first people to be on the inflation track. He was one of the first people to talk about the carbon tax. He was one of the first people to talk about crime. If we as a party continue to promote those kinds of ideas and put ideas forward, even the ones that the Liberals seem to be borrowing from us, those are the things that I think people will care about when they make a vote in the next election. Of course, the palace intrigue in Ottawa, the soap opera as it is somewhat intriguing to some degree and a bit of a distraction. But I think what we as a party and as members of parliament need to continue to do is to keep talking to Canadians on the level about the things that they care about. Pierre is still doing that, and I think is still putting forward ideas that resonate with Canadians.
Yeah, look, the top-line party numbers are broadly competitive. The leader numbers, though, there's a growing gulf between who is seen as the best prime minister, with Mark Carney well ahead of Mr. Poilievre. And that seems to be a factor in what's happening here. I mean, maybe it's palace intrigue, I don't know, but Mark Carney's moving closer to a majority government through defection rather than election. So he needs one more seat. They seem to have targeted conservatives to round out the caucus. So, I mean, how confident are you, Adam Chambers, that you won't lose one more? Because it only takes one more person to join Mr. Ma and Mr. d'Entremont, and it's a majority government for Mark Carney.
Well, let's just take a step back. Mr. Carney, of course, is obviously trying to achieve a majority government. After the last election, he did not elect enough MPs to get his majority government. So he's in fact actually trying to achieve something through these defections that he was not afforded at the ballot box. Yes, of course, people vote for individuals, but as we all know, everyone runs under a party banner. The party affiliation is on the ballot. And so I think, what the Prime Minister is trying to do, he's trying to actually get that extra seat so that he can avoid accountability. If you look at some of the bills that he's bring forward, take the budget bill as an example, the fact that there's a provision in this budget bill, which they did not brief parliamentarians or the press on, that would allow any minister to waive penalties or fines against corporations and without any justification for why they need this power. I think these are the kinds of the reasons why the Prime Minister is trying to get the majority government. He barely shows up in question period as it is today. If he gets his majority government, he'll be able to do this without any checks, without any accountability. And I think that's what the official opposition is here to do. It's supposed to make sure that the government is operating in a way that's appropriate and is held to account at every possible standard.
But how confident are you that he won't get there? I mean, I take your point about the sweeping powers in the Act, but I don't know if Brookfield did mergers and acquisitions, but the Prime Minister seems intent on acquiring MPs from the other caucuses. I mean, how worried are you right now, Adam Chambers, that you might come back at the end of January and it's a done deal?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, of course, David, but I think what we need to do as a party, as the official opposition, is to continue to hold the government accountable. If, whatever happens in the future, I don't write the storybook for that. Everyone makes their own decisions. But I think as a party, we seem relatively united around the issues that Canadians care about. And, I'm not in, this job for me personally. I'm in it for my constituents. I'm in it to represent them in Ottawa, but also as a member of the party. And I think that's the framework within I like to work. And I think all of my colleagues like to do that. We will bring ideas to the table. As I said, we will work with the government where it makes sense, and we will oppose them where necessary. We've supported the government on previous legislation. We will continue to do so where it makes sense, but we'll block them and try to work with them and to improve legislation otherwise. But I don't know what the future will hold. I expect that it may be interesting, but I don't think anything will change between now and when we come back in January. But the future, who knows what the future will hold.
No, I mean, look, those could be famous last words. I thought this was over too. But Stephen McKinnon, just as a final point, he said today there are more Conservatives out there, and then said to the journalists at the press conference, it's up to you to go find them. Do you think he's just kind of trolling, or do you think they might have someone?
Mr. McKinnon has been around for a very long time in politics. I suspect that's some very sophisticated trolling on his part. From my understanding and my colleagues that I've spoken to today over the last number of hours, and as I say, both in Ontario and across the country, we are united. We do not believe the country is headed in the right direction, and we're here. And we are going to Ottawa in a way to hold the government account to try to bring the country back on a better path for Canadians.
Adam Chambers, Conservative MP from Ontario. We always appreciate the time. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Thank you very much, David.